The rain was falling so hard that night it sounded like the sky was breaking apart. I had just finished locking up my small roadside motel when a soft knock echoed through the glass door. When I opened it, a young woman stood there, soaked from head to toe, holding the hand of a little boy who looked no older than 6. Her eyes were tired, but there was something strong behind them, something that told me she had been fighting through more than just the storm outside. "Please," she said quietly, her voice trembling. "Can we stay here tonight?" I hesitated for a moment, and glanced back at the empty motel hallway. Normally, that wouldn't be a problem, but tonight was different. The last room had already been rented, and I lived in the small manager's room in the back. "I'm sorry," I said gently. "There are no rooms left." Her shoulders dropped, and the little boy squeezed her hand tighter. She turned slightly, as if preparing to step back out into the cold rain. Then something inside me wouldn't let it happen. "Wait," I said. She turned back. "I only have one bed, in my room." I scratched the back of my neck awkwardly. "It's nothing fancy, but it's warm and dry." She looked surprised, almost unsure if she had heard me correctly. "You can take the bed," I added quickly. "I'll sleep on the chair." For a moment she just stared at me, and then her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. At that time, I thought I was simply helping a stranger escape the storm. I had no idea that small decision would change my life forever. The little room in the back of the motel wasn't much. A single bed, a small wooden table, and a worn-out chair near the window. But to them, it looked like a palace compared to the cold rain outside. The boy climbed onto the bed quietly while his mother kept thanking me over and over. "You really don't have to keep saying that," I said with a small smile. "Everyone needs a little help sometimes." She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't used to receiving kindness from strangers. I gave them a couple of dry towels and an old hoodie of mine for the boy. Within minutes he was fast asleep, curled up like he had been carrying exhaustion for days. His mother sat on the edge of the bed watching him, brushing his wet hair away from his forehead. "You've been traveling a long way, haven't you?" I asked gently. She hesitated before answering. "Yes, farther than I ever planned." Something in her voice told me there was a story behind those words, but I didn't want to push. After a moment she said quietly, "Sometimes life pushes you into places you never expected to be." The rain outside grew heavier, tapping loudly against the window. I sat in the chair near the door while she lay down beside her son. The room fell silent except for the storm. Just before she closed her eyes, she looked at me again. "You didn't even ask who we are," she said softly. I shrugged. "Tonight it doesn't matter." For the first time since she arrived, she smiled. But as I sat there listening to the rain and watching the two strangers finally rest, I couldn't shake the feeling that their story, and mine, had only just begun. And by morning, I would discover the truth about why they were really running. Morning came quietly. The storm had passed, leaving the air fresh and cool. I woke up in the chair with a stiff neck and the smell of coffee drifting through the small room. The woman was already awake, standing near the window, while her son still slept peacefully. "You should have woken me," I said, stretching. She smiled softly. "You needed the rest more than I did." For a moment we just stood there in comfortable silence. Then she turned serious. "I guess I should tell you the truth," she said. I leaned against the table and nodded. "My name is Elena. And we weren't just escaping the storm last night, we were escaping someone." Her words instantly woke me up. "My ex-husband," she continued quietly. "He wasn't a good man. After the divorce, things got worse. When he found out I planned to move away with my son, he started threatening us." My stomach tightened. "So we left in the middle of the night," she said. "We've been driving for 2 days." I looked at the sleeping boy. "No child should have to run like that," I muttered. She looked down at the floor. "I didn't know where else to go. Then the storm started, and we found your motel." At that moment, a black SUV slowly pulled into the motel parking lot. Elena's face instantly turned pale. "That's him," she whispered. And suddenly, the peaceful morning didn't feel peaceful anymore. The SUV door slammed shut outside. My heart started pounding as a tall man stepped out, scanning the parking lot like a hunter looking for prey. Elena grabbed her son's shoulder gently and woke him. "Sweetheart, stay very quiet," she whispered. Fear filled her eyes, but something else was there too, determination. The man outside walked toward the motel office. "Is there a back door?" she asked quickly. I nodded. "Yeah, but—" Before I could finish, there was a loud knock at the front office door. Bang! 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 "Open up!" the man shouted. Elena's son clutched her arm, scared. I made a quick decision. "Take the back door," I said. "There's a gas station 2 blocks away. Wait there." "But he'll question you," she said. I shrugged. "Let him." Tears filled her eyes again. "You've already done too much for us." "Not enough yet," I replied. Another loud bang shook the door. She quickly hugged me, surprising me. "I will never forget this," she whispered. Then she grabbed her son's hand and slipped out the back door. A second later, I walked to the front and opened the office door. The man looked furious. "Where are they?" he demanded. I crossed my arms. "I think you've got the wrong place." But what happened next was something I never expected. The man stared at me for a long moment, his eyes cold and suspicious. "I know she came here," he said. I kept my voice calm. "Buddy, this motel barely gets customers. You're wasting your time." He looked past me into the empty hallway. For a moment, I thought he might push his way inside. But then something strange happened. The little boy's drawing slipped off the desk behind me and fell onto the floor. The man glanced down at it. It was a simple crayon picture, a small family standing under a bright sun. But only 2 people were drawn, a mother and her child. He stared at it longer than expected. Then his expression changed, just slightly. Without another word, he turned around, got back into his SUV, and drove away. I stood there frozen, not believing what had just happened. About an hour later, Elena returned from the gas station. "The road is clear," she said. Her son ran up and hugged me tightly. "Mom says you saved us," he said. I smiled and knelt down. "No," I said gently. "Your mom saved you." Elena looked at me with grateful eyes. "People always say kindness is rare," she said quietly. "But last night, a stranger proved them wrong." They drove away that morning toward a new life. And sometimes, when the rain starts falling at night, I remember the knock on that door, and how one small act of kindness can change someone's entire story.